Get this.
Weekday mornings from 9.
On Triple M.
Jane Kennedy is with us. She's pregnant as and older. It's her birthday.
Yep. Yes, it is. I'm pregnant as.
Welcome aboard.
Thanks, Tone.
Hey, Tone, how's the search for a sponsor going?
Oh, well, it's our last day with Census 1,
Yeah,
2,
I know.
3, 4, and we've certainly enjoyed their company. But,
Much.
Nothing so far. I'm trying to get the new East Timorese cocktail, Banana Guzmao, to sponsor us. Have you had a Banana Guzmao?
Too expensive.
Banana Guzmao, Banana Guzmao. East Timor's favourite drinker nation. On the brink, there's just time to sink one before your house is razed to the ground by a bunch of naughty kids. Oi, that's their jingle. I don't know. Do we want that for the next 4 weeks?
If you're happy to sing it every day.
Exactly.
A nice refreshing Banana Guzmao. That's what I could do with.
The bananas will be cheap there.
That's true. Very true. What now? There's just a few quick stories I want to mention in the news. What's going on? Got him! Al Zarqawi. That's the headline this morning. Got him! Al Zarqawi out.
Yep.
And just weeks after he appeared in that ridiculous video,
Yes, I did see that.
and we were talking about it on the show, and he's gone, because we think that local leaders, John Howard, George Bushes, should be doing a speech and then firing a machine gun into the air out in the car park.
That'll make them a bit tougher looking, won't it?
I reckon.
Make the news.
But there were bloopers from the Al
There
Zarqawi
was.
one. He couldn't work his machine gun. Bloke had to
Yeah,
step
a
in
guy
and
had to come in and help him.
And then he denounces the West, declares we're all going to die, walks off, he's wearing Nikes. Well, got him. Who else? What else? What is going on with Steve Vizard? I don't know if we can even talk about that for legal reasons. He's been charged with falsifying the canned laughs on the wedge. We'll be having updates on that. But what is going on with the chess babe? I know Mick Malloy's program, Tough Love Canvas, is pretty...
Well, she is a pretty sexy-looking lady.
She is.
She's a very sexy Filipino-Australian girl. Is that correct?
And she's a chess champion.
Chess champ, and there's been fisticuffs over her hand.
Right.
Chess hand.
Wow. Well, there's...
That's one way of putting it.
Nice.
Everyone's read the story, but the one detail that jumped out at me is she's ranked number 7 on the Women's Chess Beauty Contest website. So, I mean, she's fairly babular. But you're saying there's 6 more.
But, you know, here's something I didn't really consider, that there would be a chess beauty website.
Well, I went looking.
I'll bet you did.
Really, Ed?
And
That surprises me.
As research, you can't get hold of it. I did my best investigative Googling, right? And all I could come up with was this group of people who call themselves the Chess Babes in Massachusetts in America that have full-on fight chess. So they'll stand dressed as a rook and a knight and stuff. And then if you beat their piece, they beat each other up a bit, and they get big crowds.
Nude?
No. I mean,
Because I was sure it would just direct you to some chess porn site.
Exactly.
Yes.
I mean, at least, but nothing doing.
Freshly
Tone,
shaved bishops.
Tone, you know how that girl is the 7th ranked?
Yeah.
I got a text message one night that said I was voted the 9th sexiest straight man by the Gay Socialist of Australia.
Ed, that is a really big honour.
Top 10.
9th.
That is really huge.
Wow.
Look out, number 8. Here I come.
You're getting a Banana Guzmao. Does this mean you're going to do your sports segment? It's week 10 and still nothing.
Look, Tone, the one thing this show lacks, apart from Sizzle, is footy tips, as you know, and I'm going to rectify that right now with Rich, if you will. You got you don't have a sting. Just give us something, Rich. Just.
Oh, no.
Yeah, there it is. Well,
Is there going to be football on Get This now?
Was that a car revving?
to a slide whistle. All right, it's the Get This Footy Tips brought to you by Snatto Garrow. Snatto Garrow, the best mate blokes like us could have. This week, Get This tipping 2 games of 2 halves, won by the team with more go. Footy's a funny old game, and who's to say what's right and wrong? Ref, put it away. It's an old cliche, but you know what they say about if I had $1 for every time I heard that one, I'd be dead set, tarred and feathered before a ball had even been bounced. Turn it up, the old hip and shoulder, old as the game is long. I'm a Jats cracker. Dogs in a nail biter. Broncos in a cliffhanger. There's a straight kick in it, and I'll be a mug's uncle if I'm not touching that one, fellas. Least till you wash it. Get This Footy Tips brought to you by Snatto Garrow. Snatto Garrow. Any bloke will tell you it's Snatto or nothing.
What was Was that English, Jane?
That I did pick it. I did pick it up. I did pick that up.
Are you
Ed,
just-
You're a master at every game of every code.
Tipping footy.
Clearly.
Are you just doing sports so that you can claim your trip to the World Cup as on tax?
A little bit.
On Snatto Gowro, that got me into a lot of trouble yesterday. I've had a disastrous week, Jane. 666.
Tone, I heard about that. That's
Car
just
written
insane.
off. Yesterday, phone exploded. Computer blew up.
Oh no.
2 big fancy sketches I was working on for the show just fell in a heap.
what happened?
It's just disastrous.
That would be devastating for you.
I blame Satan. Satan is getting his little mitts on our gear.
Well, I know that there was a real thing going on in hospitals around Australia. Sorry to get back to the baby thing. People
Yeah,
going, oh my
no.
God, please don't make my baby born on this day.
Oh, yes.
That's right.
No one was called Damien the other day, were they?
No, well, I did look that up to see if any
anyone?
Damien's on the 6th of the 6th. No one's got a good sense of humour
No, they
anymore. Have they?
You're well clear, though, because you wouldn't want twin Damiens. Nightmare.
Would not.
Bits of glass sliding off trucks all over town. But what happened was
What happened to you?
it was a disaster.
Come on, what happened?
There's some shopping mall in Sydney where they're playing Barry Manilow music
Oh, yeah.
to frighten away hoons. So I thought it'd be funny to call him up
Yeah.
and pretend to be Barry Manilow's manager.
Hey, what's his name?
Well, his name was Bob Snattogaro. That was where it all came off the rails. Because I thought I'd call up the bloke at the shopping mall and say, Barry's willing to come down.
Yeah.
He's touring. He'll perform
yeah.
live.
Yeah, good.
He'll be needing a fruit platter.
Yeah, he will.
And I just thought, I'll call myself Bob Snattogaro. He won't have heard the show. That's a misspelling of Santo Chilaro that we enjoy. And he was just, as soon as I said Snattogaro, he's going, can you spell it, mate? S-N-A-T-O. And the whole thing just fell off the rails. I was watching the Channel 10 news last night, and a story from Victoria. Have a listen to this.
Controversial independent Victorian MP Andrew Alexander is pressuring the Bracks government to back his private member's bill for gay civil unions. But Prime Minister John Howard remains determined to stop them, warning they threaten the institution of marriage.
Gay civil unions, gay marriage. Can't be having that. 5 minutes later in the news, this was a story.
Well, now it seems that puppy love has been taken to new extremes. 2 besotted pooches have walked down the aisle with, of course, a little help from their friends.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the wedding of Harley and Lola.
There's 2 dogs that wanted to get married.
It's puppy love, doggone it.
Yeah, that's right. In case you didn't get the idea, it's...
Puppy love. A real-life case of doggy, I do, I do, I do.
That's right. 2 dogs are allowed to get
You've got
married.
to draw the line somewhere, Tone.
Dogs are cute and fluffy. Come
are.
on.
Well, they got married. They got
Fair
hitched.
enough.
Or rather, they exchanged
Bow vows.
I now declare you Barkness for life.
barkners for life.
Ouch. Ouch.
Really? That is the worst part of the
That's
year.
a dare in the newsroom, isn't it? Of people writing there at the computers and going, you reckon I should say, take your bows now?
bow vows.
Go on, take your bow vows. Tony Martin will play it tomorrow.
That's true. So remember, if you just want to find 2 dogs and marry them off, you can. But keep in mind...
The dog of a service costs $200, but you'd be barking mad to pay it.
Oh.
So if 2 gay people want to get married...
They threaten the institution of marriage.
But if 2 dogs who don't even know what's going on want to get married, it's...
I do, I do, I do.
How's that? Dogs.
Got to draw the line somewhere.
I mean, they're the real arse bandits. If you've seen them in action, the dogs.
Come on. Come on,
I wasn't
settle
expecting
down.
you to say that, Tony.
No, either was I. I'd put a spring in my step.
Well, look, show business. I mean, as you know, it is full of gay people.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They're everywhere.
Yeah.
But none of them go around rooting the furniture or drinking out of the toilet. Well, actually, one of them does.
Yeah.
But he's a very fine actor. Rob Sitch is sitting in with us.
You asked me before if I've been in a car crash.
Have you been in a car crash?
11 times.
11? Wow.
None in the last 10 years. And none, I can say this, none my fault. In fact, the best one I ate was ever, we used to have a farm just out of Melbourne, and we'd go up there on the weekends, and I'd hitchhike into town. It was about 5 k's away, 6 k's away. And one day a guy picked me up, and I hopped in, and you don't wear a seatbelt back then.
No.
Of course you don't. And he's driving into town, and as he got into this small country town, a guy came out the right through a stop sign and smashed into us. We crashed. I fell forward underneath the dashboard,
Right.
and there's sort of steam coming out of the engine. It's a crash scene. And I went, actually, I'm okay.
Right.
No broken bones, nothing. And I looked up from underneath the dashboard, and as I got up, I said, and kicked the door open, I said, thanks for the lift, mate.
Fantastic.
And got out and went and saw a movie. I was like,
Same time tomorrow? Meet you back here.
and the guy's going, and he had, I think, a little trickle of blood going down. And he goes, thanks for you. And he goes, oh, no worries.
Well, I
Anytime.
was, my car has been completely written off, Ed.
Oh, what?
The 1990
Oh, no.
Laser that I've had for 17 years.
Right, now the question begs, if you get a new car,
Yeah.
I say if,
Yeah.
are you going to push yourself into the 2000s or
I-
stay in the 90s where you're comfortable?
I want to go back to the Skoda. I don't know if people are familiar with the Skoda. It's some kind of European car. Possibly only has 3 wheels. That's what I'm going to move into next. But here's what happened yesterday. It's the 6th of the 6th of the 6th.
Sure.
I get in my car. It's about 6:30 in the morning. I'm playing Speak of the Devil by Chris Isaak.
Yep.
I get about 200 metres from my house. Bang! I'm written off by one of these, 4-wheel drives.
Did you have a bull bar?
It just had about 7 bull bars on the front, and a tiny blonde woman gets out of it. And, yes, it was...
Her first words were,
Her first words were, "It's my parents' car." And there's some trouble going on. I don't know what's going on. It's one of these people who's been given a 4-wheel drive in lieu of affection.
that's a funny contrast. It's my parents' car. You should have said, I'm actually my parents' son.
Well, I couldn't talk about my car because it was just I was just like a cartoon character just holding a steering wheel, sitting in the middle of an intersection with Chris Isaak still coming out of one speaker.
You just put the wreckage in your pocket and walked home.
So I've gone, okay, so what do I do now? And I haven't been in a car accident for years, so I have to call the insurance company. And, of course, in all the insurance company ads, your car's been written off, but, oh, now I'm flying a magic carpet to work.
Yeah.
We'll sort you out.
Yeah.
So I call them up and I go, can I get a rental car, for the interim? And they're just laughing at me.
Yeah.
Of course you can't. What do you think we are? And they're going, well, are you, why do you need a car to get to work? And I'm going, well, I'm a radio announcer, young lady. And she's going, well, do you not have access to public transport? And I'm going, yeah, but see, I need to listen to the radio on the way in because I need to monitor what the so-called competition are up to.
Yes.
And she's going, well, can't you wear an iPod?
Yes.
And I know what people who use public transport are thinking. Yes, why not, little Lord Fauntleroy? Get the silver spoon out of your mouth. Join us down here. But I'm going, and this was the embarrassing part, I'm going, but I have to try out bits of the show in my car. Like
Well, she's dragged you into a full conversation. hasn't she?
I'm talking, I've got this is me driving to work in the morning. Yeah, we got a tapenade. We got, shallots and stuff on it, trying out
Yeah.
the gourmet pizza
Gold.
character guy on the way. And she's gone, well, couldn't you just do that quieter? I have to ask about something, and we've had a lot of people fax in. What was going on? The house at Bonnie Doon
Yes.
from the castle has actually been sold.
Well, it's a treasure, the old house, because, in films you trick things up, but it really does have 100,000 volt
Right.
cables going over the top of it. It really is in front of a rather scrappy-looking cow paddock.
And there was a bidding war to secure this location.
And the drought has meant that there is actually, in fact, no water in front of it. You actually have to walk 4 kilometres to see the water. So, and there was, I don't know, the bidding war. I don't know whether Michael Caton and Hot Auctions.
No, it's not like sort of Gracelands. There's not going to be tours.
No, there is interesting. I got petrol one day and I saw a T-shirt in the shop there. It was "How's the Serenity?"
Right,
So,
that'll catch on. Look, I've just got to say, when I first watched The Castle, it freaked me out because everything Michael Caton said in that film, it sounded to me like he was doing an impression of you doing an impression of your own dad.
I've got to give you credit, Tony. Years and years and years ago, I told a story to Tony about my dad, and Tony said, I'm going to put him in a film one day. And I went, no, there's nothing interesting about it. And I think it was the day that the police came to arrest my brother for not paying parking fines.
Oh, that was fantastic. That was great.
And I saw a police car outside, and I went, I think he's pushed the not paying parking fine thing too far. And there was a little bit of glass in the swing door into the kitchen.
Yeah.
And instead of seeing stern-faced cops, I saw my dad almost with a barbecue apron on, but kind of vibe, and 2 cops with guns in holsters sitting on the couch with beers in their hands. And if you try and join those two dots, how did they come to arrest one of my brothers and end up having a beer with my dad?
But your dad was going, and what we've done here is we've extended the patio.
It was deep in conversation. As I've walked in, they've clocked. They've gone, wait a second. We're on duty. and my dad just didn't see any of that. He goes, oh, Rob, got him. Meet some two terrific fellas that have popped over to arrest your brother. And
Oh, look, the scene that I thought the way it would work in a movie is you would have the two cops wearing comedy barbecue aprons, like with women's underwear, and then you'd have them being called away on an emergency. And then way later in the movie, like 40 minutes later, you'd have a scene where just in the background on a TV, you see like 30 cops in the full SWAT flak jackets raiding a house, but just two of them still in the barbecue aprons, just in the background of frame. Would that get funding?
Oh, yeah.
If we could get some glamorous heroin addicts in love in the foreground, we could maybe get that shot. Richard E. Grant is our co-host this morning.
You got two watches on?
I do, yeah.
What's going on there?
Well, my father gave me, which is at the penultimate scene in the Wah Wah movie, he gave me his watch when he knew he was dying as a sort of parting gift, and I then lost it, and a couple of years later, my wife gave me another one in between, and then I found it rolled up in a pair of socks in a cupboard. So I keep Swaziland time on his watch and Melbourne time or English time on the other watch.
Very nice. Now, you mentioned you've got like a 13-year-old, is that right?
Oh no, she's now 17.
Well, you don't look surely old enough to. When did you have children? When you were
need
like
your
12?
eyes tested. I'm old enough to be your dad. Watch it.
Right. You were asking me before about going into the record shop, and that's always fun, isn't it? When you get to our age.
Well, when you're our age, well, I'm glad you're older than you, but you realise that you really have turned it into an old fart when people talk about the young people.
Yes.
You go into the record place or the disc shop or whatever it's called now, and you find that all the people that you actually recognise or know or want to buy are in the easy listening section.
Who's in there now?
Oh, David Bowie, Sting, all the old guys,
Bowie.
all the cutting edge guys are now in the easy listening section.
The Sex Pistols are now in nostalgia.
Yeah. I sort of always thought that if I'm younger than Mick Jagger and he's still got his own hair and teeth and swiveling his hips around, I still can feel young. So that's how I work it.
See, Mick Jagger's got the Rolling Stones have their thing of remaining heroin skinny.
It's unbelievable.
So
and they
you-
still kept their hair. I just don't understand it.
Yeah, but they look kind of cool. And there's you look at Status Quo, and they've just started to stack on a bit. The jeans are padding out. As long as you stay really scary and sort
Well,
of skinny.
I saw Iggy Pop this year
Yeah.
at the start of the year, and
Yeah.
he looks fantastic.
Does he?
His skin is kind of like a lizard.
Alligator's handbag.
Yeah. But he's still got the low slung jeans on. He's flying,
And you
flinging
like
himself
that?
around. It was great.
Yes, gosh, interesting. A young person who likes old Iggy and his tight jeans.
Something for everyone.
Yeah.
Something for everyone.
I'll get this. Now, we mentioned Wah Wah, this fine new film that you've written and directed, but accompanying that is the release of this book, The Wah Wah Diaries. Now, I'm a huge fan of your earlier book, the With Nails
Oh, thank you.
Film Diaries. This, I mean, it's suspenseful. It's like a John le Carre novel.
You couldn't make it up, could you?
You
I mean,
couldn't
stuff
make
that
this
went
stuff
into
up.
the movie that almost never got made. You couldn't make it up.
Whenever you talk to someone who's made a film, especially a low-budget film or
As
any
you have
film,
done.
well, any film in Australia, here's what happens. You hear this. By the time I finished raising the money,
Yeah.
I was so exhausted, I didn't know whether I'd be able to make the film. I mean, you're literally knackered before you even shoot a frame.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I did work with a nightmare producer, so
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
that
noticed
comes across.
There's
quite-
some
Oh, does it?
really strong language describing your producer. in
well,
here.
there is. Well, I think that it started shooting yesterday, exactly 2 years ago,
Right.
and 7th of June 2004 in Swaziland, and 3 days before that, with 110 cast and crew in Swaziland, we were told by a Swaziland government minister, I was red carpeted at 8:30 in the morning, absolutely bollocked, hung, drawn and quartered. And he said, you are illegally in the country, you have no work permits, no medical certificates, no police clearances, you have to get out. And it was at this point, having bleated to this aforementioned French producer whose name I cannot mention,
Or any of the
I said that
epithets.
you have to get all these things done in advance of our going then. She said, no, leave these details to me. So I then had to go and beg an audience with the King of Swaziland, King Mswati III, which you don't get to do in Melbourne every day.
He wears
And,
3 watches.
Exactly. And I begged clemency to allow us to start shooting whilst all this stuff was processed.
Wow.
So unforgivable as far as my book.
How did
But-
you find her? Or
yeah.
how did she find you?
Well, I'd worked with her as an actor in a French movie about Napoleon that was a big, daggy blob and went nowhere, and I had to speak in French very fast. And, she seemed like a very attractive, very reasonable, kind, nice, good producing kind of human being. And she came onto my film when the previous producers had withdrawn to become drugs counsellors in Barbados.
Fair enough.
And so she came in on the movie at the point where we had Miranda Richardson and Julie Walters already attached. And Rafe Fiennes was apparently about to sign, and then another 14 months went by while Rafe decided not to do it.
Right.
Then, with everything else that went on, financing yo-yo in between, I then discovered the background story from the people that she'd worked with on the making of this Napoleon film that I was talking about, the French film. And they all said that, she was a complete incompetent nightmare. But then it was too late.
I told you this at the premiere.
Yeah. No, she hasn't come to any of the premieres.
All right.
I noticed there's no photos of her in the photos.
No, there's not. But, if it'd just been a personality clash between her and I could have thought, well, fair dues. But she managed to alienate absolutely everybody that she worked with and came across. So my book is a warning to anybody that, if they want to do a French production with this maniac, be warned.
But every good story needs a good villain. So you've
absolutely.
certainly got one there. I mean, it's one of these books that's just full of, the surrealism of trying to make a film. You're in the middle of trying to nail down actors and trying to get money and trying to film in a country where no one's filmed before. But then you've got to fly over and be in the final episode of Frasier and the dog's taking a dump on the set. It's just full of images like that.
Oh, yeah. Well, there was this amazing thing that... what is the dog called? Eddie.
Yes,
Eddie. I never watched Frasier, so turn up there, and I was cast, typecast to play Robbie Coltrane's long-lost brother and in this final episode. And Eddie the dog, they had this big wedding room set, and I don't know, there's been 200 people in there, and people were very emotional because it was the last episode. Grown men crying, all 14 writers in a terrible state because their paychecks were running out after, 14 years in the series.
God, right.
And Eddie the dog did this unbelievably potent fart, which almost cleared the room. Not content with that, he then climbed onto this bed on which most of the actors were lying around, including the guy playing Frasier, Kelsey Grammer.
Yes.
And the dog then did this volcanic shit in the middle of the bed. And I've never seen 200 people clear a room so fast. It's unbelievable.
Well, a lot of people in the Big Brother house here in Australia have tried that move.
They have.
And it's made them beloved by the nation, Richard.
Excellent, I like that. And I watched Kath and Kim on my way over here on the plane, and Kim was doing a lot of cabbage diet farting on that, and the poor guy next to me didn't know what was wrong with me. I was just convulsed. I'd never seen them before. So I'm desperate to get every episode of Kath and Kim that I can.
Tony's
for
in
more
one.
farting scenes. Are you in one?
Are
you?
I play, did you see Sharon?
Yeah.
I play her boyfriend in a few. And you know what it
Sharon,
was?
the fascist cop lady.
Yeah, I was her boyfriend for about 4 episodes, and it was one of those...
Did you give her one? Or did she sit on you?
I'm afraid I did.
Oh, did you?
There is a scene because we're...
Which series are you in?
In the first series of the last episode of The Wedding, we're pashing against a wall, and there is a shot where everything goes horribly wrong at the yes, pashing. Welcome to Australia.
Oh, yeah.
And
rooting, I thought it was called.
we get to
Pashing's
that
before the
in
rooting.
the second
yeah.
series.
All right. The 2 seconds before you root, you pash.
I'm before E.
Okay.
And they've decided, I know what we'll do. When everything goes wrong at the wedding, we'll have you pushing Magda over the fence. So there's a shot of me pushing her over the fence. I've timed it. It's 16 frames. It's less than 1 second. And people still go, I love that scene where you're pushing Magda over the fence.
That episode.
But, it's in there. I'm sure you'll learn a lot about Australia watching Kath and Kim, Richard.
That's fantastic.
What about With Nails, the book you wrote probably 10 years ago?
Yeah.
Fantastic film diaries. Talks about working on The Player and working with Martin Scorsese, and it's got a fair bit of gossip in there. Have you had much of a reaction from the people mentioned in it over the years?
Well, put it this way: since doing that great turkey of a classic, Hudson Hawk. With
Oh,
Bruce
we
Willis
love
16.
Hudson
I really
Hawk,
like
yeah.
that
All
film.
right, well, whatever you're on, I don't want any of it.
There are so few films where you can see a dog being shot out of a tennis ball machine.
These days.
I don't think Bruce Willis is going to employ me in another movie again because it was a big stinker. But like anything, everybody begins a movie with the best intentions, and that one just went absolutely AWOL very, very fast.
Oh, well, it makes for a good chapter in your book. And there's a quote in the paper today because one of our residents here in Australia is Diane Salento, who used to be married to
Sean Connery.
That's right. And Sean Connery has denounced his ex-wife Diane Salento's autobiography as a crock of shit. It was only a year ago that Salento told about Connery's attempts to write his own book. He told Jason, our son, that he would sit at the desk for hours but couldn't remember anything. So it's great to be. I mean, you obviously have one. Do you write diaries? Is that the secret?
Yeah, ever since the first scene in Wah Wah, which is seeing my mum,
Yes.
at ease with the father's best friend in the front seat of the car. That's when I started keeping a diary, and I've done so ever since.
Wow, that prompted you to. I better get this down on paper.
Yeah, well, I couldn't tell anybody. You're sort of burdened with this poisonous secret as a kid. So I couldn't go to my dad and say, "Hey, you know what I saw in the front seat of the car last night? Hey, Mum, I saw you doing this." So I started keeping a diary.
And you've obviously the diary of the book. What I love is that you'll just be talking about some disastrous moment during the raising of the money for the film, and then you'll just go, "I went cycling with Steve Martin at this point."
As you do.
Things like that just seem to happen to you all the time.
Yeah. Well, I think it's what my sense of life is exactly what John Lennon said before he was murdered. That life is what happens in between making your plans.
Right.
Out of this chaos and the stuff that goes on, it's funny and sad by turn from moment to moment. A bit like this show.
That's right. That's right. Well, we've got look. You've got that thing though that I love, where you've been in so many films. You've done 20 years worth of big movies, but you don't seem to have lost that sense of being amazed by meeting big actors, or you haven't become cynical about it all.
Well, I'm still starstruck because I'm Swazi boy.
Right.
I grew up in Swaziland, where there was nothing else except for the movies. Because, as I said earlier, they only got TV in 1980, so the movies were the sort of escape out of there. And I've never not been thrilled to meet people because talent is very sexy.
It is. And look, we must ask you about the Spice Girls movie. That was you involved.
Top sex,
right? I mean, I have to say, it was an attempt to do something interesting. There was a kind of a satirical tone.
No. It was just an attempt to make a large pile of money, which it did. Don't kid yourself. You've made your own film. Come on.
And were your kids impressed by that?
It was the reason I did it, because my daughter was 8 at the time. There was this note left next to the phone saying, call agent offer to play Spice Girls manager in movie. And, my 8-year-old swiveled and went ballistic and said, I don't care what movie you make for the rest of your career. Right. This is the movie you have to be in because I've got to meet those girls. Of course, now she's 17 and doesn't even acknowledge that they even existed. No, certainly not in her DVD, CD collection. But, when she's about 35 and they do the return tour,
they'll be back
when they're all in wheelchairs.
Yeah, they've got more in the tank.
Absolutely.
But of course, she would now be old enough to, I guess, go back and watch With Noel and I and listen to all your swearing.
She has. She just discovered it for the first time, and all the kids at her school too. So it's amazing that that's his ongoing life.
There's so much swearing in that movie,
yeah,
but it's great good swearing. Yeah. I love this. Every time I watch it, there's a new favourite bit for me. And I love this one bit where you go out and it's about 2 unemployed actors and they're on a disastrous weekend in the country. And you go to a phone box to talk to your agent. Yeah. And some other actor has got the role that you wanted. Mm-hmm. And Withnail is so volcanic in his anger and frustration. He doesn't go his agent. He doesn't go the actor who got the part. He actually turns on the character in the play. There you go. That effing Tybalt.
That's the life of an actor summed up.
And I must say, watching Wah Wah, there was, and I hope you don't take offence at this, but watching Gabriel Byrne playing your dad, I could easily imagine you playing that role.
What, playing an out-of-control alcoholic?
Yeah.
Charmer by day, schizophrenic nightmare by night.
And there was just a little hint of you every now and then in a few of the characters, whenever the younger version of yourself said, "Bugger!"
Oh, right. Okay. Well, I can't account for that. They must have just been watching me.
Well, look, we want to get people to have why should we have all the interviewing fun, Ed?
No. Selfish.
Do we want to get the listeners on
I'd
board?
love to.
If you'd like to speak to Richard E. Grant, ask him a question. You'll field questions on pretty much anything, won't you, Richard?
Absolutely anything.
Give us a call.
Except for Iggy Pop's pants.
I'll field those.
The whole special on Iggy Pop's pants coming up later in the
Ed's
program.
your man for Iggy's pants.
You know it.
That's what we'll have on the billboards. Ed's your man for Iggy's pants. In the meantime.
Hello, Olivia.
Hello.
How are you going?
Oh, good, thanks.
Great.
I was just wondering what your favourite movie is out of all the movies you've made.
Oh, the ones that I made? Writing and directing Wah Wah outstripped anything else. It was absolutely fantastic.
Yes, well, I have the book. I certainly will see the movie.
Oh, thank you.
I've loved your career very much.
Oh,
very
thanks,
much.
Olivia. I love you.
Oh, thank you. Yes. If I hadn't had a husband, you would have been the one.
There you go.
Oh, thank you. How old are you, darling?
Thank you, Richard.
How old are you?
Well, getting a bit on now.
Are you? Oh, me too.
A little bit older. and not too bad for my age, so.
Yeah. This husband of yours, I mean, is it going to last, do you think, Olivia?
I think I'll last. I hope so.
Yeah, I mean, Richard's willing to get in the station Black Thunder and pop around.
God. I would love that. I would love that. Thanks very much for listening.
Thanks, Olivia.
Thank you. Bye, Olivia.
Tim Rogers is up very early.
Yeah.
Welcome aboard, Tim.
Thank you. My gusset is damp.
Is it really?
Yes, I'm excited to be here.
Hey, Tone.
Yes.
You were just saying off air. You reached over.
Oh,
and
no.
you picked up one of the copies of Convicts album, and you said, "I recognise that font."
Well, it is. It's the same font of the singles from the Dress Me Slowly album. Am I right, Tim?
I am inordinately flattered. He's inordinately
You are
aware.
incredible.
I
Tony.
used to be a typographer, and you just get obsessed with fonts. You can't go anywhere. And I just go into a room, and you're just looking at the kerning.
Now,
It's
Tone, the
just-
best. Can you give the example that you give in your book of? Because I was kerning, I was like, "Oh, Tone, what's going on?"
It's the way the letters join up to
I know
form
that.
a word.
I know.
They have to work as a team.
I know that, but tell us this example. Clint Eastwood's name.
We can't say that on air.
I'm not going to
No,
say
it's,
what
it's you've said the second part first.
Ah, whoops.
It's how can I say this on air? It's called My Friend Flicker syndrome.
Yeah.
If you put the L and the I too close,
Yeah.
they actually printed a book of My Friend Flicker in the 70s, where when it was reduced for ads, the L and the I join up. So you can see what might happen there. And
There you
I
go.
pointed out to my typographical instructor the same thing happens with Clint Eastwood when you
Yeah.
see his movies on TV.
There you go. That's
Okay,
all we're
we'll just-
saying.
we'll just leave it
That's
at
all
that.
we're saying.
That's in Lolly Scramble.
It is.
Still available out the front of your bookshop, possibly on a table. I mentioned the Dress You Slowly album, Tim. I reckon the one misstep that you and I have made in their career.
One?
One. No, there was a song on the B-side of Damage called Open All Night. Why wasn't that on the album?
Because I took the advice of the producer at the time.
That's like one of the best songs you've ever done. And it's not only that, it's the song that gives the album its title.
I know. Well,
it's not on the album.
Our producer at the time, Cliff, American guy, really, really great guy, and said that he always found it uncomfortable when there was a song with the album title and the song title was the same, and that was enough. I was young. I was silly.
It's not the song title though.
Well, it was. It was called.
It was
Dress Me
called
Slowly.
that, right.
Yeah. So we kept it off. And the example he brought up was, I think it was like Elton John's "Too Low for Zero" or something like that. And as soon as he said that, I go, "Whoa!"
Okay, fair enough. Case closed.
Okay. So
that is a great song, but it is on the Cream of the Croc, is it not?
I hope so.
It's on the Croc, I think.
Yeah, I haven't listened to it. So.
Okay. Is there a single off the album, or have you done an internet-only single?
Yeah, there was an internet only. Into the net, mate. You can listen to things on the internet, mate. It was a song called "It Ain't Funny How We Don't Talk Anymore," and that was the first single.
Wasn't Who Put the Devil in You only an internet single?
That's right, Tony.
What was going on there? That should have been a proper single.
Yeah, it should have been, but
That's like a classic already. It's such a classic, you hear it on sports programs when they're going to the ads.
Well, okay, this is the forum. I want to bring it up. I wrote songs specifically for Mark and Goal of the Year. One, you might had a single out called "Kick a Hole in the Sky," which I thought would be great for Goal of the Year.
Loved it.
And "Get Up," which I thought was great for
Excellent.
Mark of the Year.
Mm.
Can you put a little word in?
Sure.
Anything last night, Ed?
Who's
Midnight to
running?
Dawn on the soccer?
Sorry?
Did they run any? What song did they run when there was...
Well, that's just the problem. They didn't. They from the. I know you don't want to talk about it, but after the game, they go like, "Oh, we're all happy because we won," and then what you want is them to cross outside to people kind of deliriously
Yes,
just
people
yelling.
in kangaroo costumes.
Yeah, just yelling at the camera, and then the guy at the front getting pushed to the ground
Yeah,
as others kind of jump on top of
absolutely.
it.
Where was that?
There none. We went back to Rally Rasic and former Socceroo Ned Zelic talking about the space that they used.
Yes.
I don't want to see
Although
that.
seeing Les Murray try and contain his
yeah.
emotion was amazing. You could see that as soon as the camera was off him, he was just about to rip his shirt off and torch the building. The containment was
And then they
beautiful.
didn't have the slow motion replay set to inspirational music. They didn't do it. They didn't have time to knock it together.
I didn't have time.
So what do you reckon, Tim? You got time to write a song for us to get into beating Brazil?
You got a xylophone on you?
I got a glockenspiel.
There was so much... there was Al Zakawi, of course, over the
yes.
weekend. And this is what you may have heard this on the news.
An Iraqi man says residents put someone who resembled Zakawi into an ambulance, but American soldiers pulled him from the vehicle and allegedly beat him repeatedly around the head. The US military has said only that the terrorist tried to roll off a stretcher shortly before he died.
He tried to roll off a stretcher.
It's the best way to get away, Tone.
A roll for freedom.
Yeah.
It was a bid for freedom. He attempted to roll away to freedom.
See, the thing about Iraq, Tone, is it's on a hill, right? And if you get a roll on,
he could have gone all the way to Jordan.
Straight out of there.
Okay, just wanted to get that clear. Paul McCartney is married a prostitute. Did you know that,
What?
Tim?
Since what?
He's married a one-legged prostitute. That's what he's done. When you're a Beatle, you can do what you want. I don't know if that's true, but that's what they're saying in the papers.
How? What's going on?
Heather Mills McCartney, the estranged wife of former Beatle Paul, earned thousands of dollars as a call girl, the tabloids are saying. She numbered amongst her customers arms dealer Adnan Khashoggi. And it's the first time I've ever said that successfully.
Lovely. Yeah, well done.
I always assume he's Adman Khashoggi. He's in advertising.
How many times have you said Adnan Khashoggi?
I say it 10 times before every show as a vocal warm-up. Here's another good one. A little old lady was mutilated late last night. Is that a Warren Zevon lyric? Is it?
Hey, right.
I think it is.
A little old lady was mutilated last night.
It's a great vocal warm-up.
There you go.
10 times before every show. I've seen the Bear doing it before every SmackDown. An Arab prince was among her clients. Here's what another satisfied customer had to say.
I'm invincible. I'm paying money.
What else happened over the weekend? Kerry O'Brien cracked it on the 7:30 report last night. They were just in the middle of a story, and then they just cut back to him. And have a listen. Listen to this.
There is a well of uncertainty out there about the impact on individuals of the work choices legislation to be tapped, and nothing changes votes like economic uncertainty.
Turn that off. Political editor Michael Brissenden and Labor leader Kim Beazley joins me now from the ABC's Parliament House in Canberra.
They're just in the middle of a story, and they've just gone back to Kerry. Turn that off.
What was he unhappy about?
I don't know. You're a band leader, Tim. I mean, do you ever do that? Something's happening, you're in the middle of kick a hole in the sky, and turn that off.
I've kind of quelled my prima donna tendencies. Really? Yeah. I used to be a lot worse, and now I don't know. It seems to be prima donna. Everyone seems to be doing it.
Oh, so they've pinched that off you now?
Yeah, they pinched. So Rogers is going to be the nice guy from now on. The swearing, cussing, falling over. But nice guy.
And hugging Davy Lane.
The guy you could bring back to your house, he'll probably steal a bit of cutlery, knock over a vase, but you'll still bring him home. He'll still bring flowers to Mum.
Look, we really want to play a track off Convicts, the new UMI album, the 7th UMI studio album.
But you can't.
Well, I've been calling up the music director all weekend. And then he's been calling me back and leaving messages on my machine.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to hear some of his messages?
I'd love to.
Let's just play them now. Here we go.
Oh, g'day, mates. It's Gary Sizzle here from the music department. Sorry about the noise. I'm here at a party to celebrate Michael Gudensky's knighthood. Listen, mate, are you dead set on playing a track off this UMI album? I've had a listen to it. It's I don't know, guitar-based rock. It's not exactly the Triple M sound. There's nothing on here that sounds like Wise Men by James Blunt. Jeez, can't you just talk to Rogers for, 40 seconds, then throw to one of your little skits? How green was my cactus, whatever that crap is? Oh, hang on, mate, I've got to go. Brian Cannon from Pseudo Echo's about to skin a live pig. Again. G'day, mate, it's me again. Listen, I don't know. Look, I had Barry Traction play me the first 7 seconds of every track off the album down the phone, and it just, I don't know, it doesn't sound like the demographic, mate. Can't you play something else? And, I got your text, and that's not true. We are very flexible. Last week, Mick Malloy had Tex Perkins on, and we've very kindly let him play a track off the Veronica's album. So, hang on, mate, I've got to go. Russell Crowe's arrived with his guitar. We've all got to go and hide.
It's more.
G'day, mate. Sizzle here again. Listen, I got your message. I don't appreciate the sarcasm, mates. We don't play that much Nickelback. And, even if we do, we don't play it as much as you play that bloody Rex Hunt clip. Jeez, how many... Oh, hang on. That's my phone.
I got my rocks off.
Actually, mate, it does make for a pretty good ringtone.
The girl's happy.
Check it out.
No money. I got my rocks off.
Oh, hey, Dicko, put that down. Bloody RSPCA will be back here. There's laws about what you can do with German. All right, Martin, you whining baby. Listen, I've done you a favour. Greg Cutthrough from Programming's called up. He tells me that Rogers has done a duet with Barnesy. You can play that one if you want. And if you can get Dave Graney to do a duet with Brian Adams, we can play some of him as well. Anyway, play that and listen, I've got to go. Shannon Knowles about to have his genitals set in plaster, and I'm told that's going to be the new ARIA award. See ya.
So there you go, Tim. We can play your duet with Barnesy.
Yep. Hey, all power to it.
Out of time on Get This.
Get This. Weekday mornings from 9 on Triple M.